I think one of the trickiest things about the spiritual journey is discerning between what messages are coming from the divine and what messages are coming from the ego. I'm going to start off by saying everything comes from the divine because all voices are the voice of God. So we're going to start there. To let the pressure off of ourselves of worrying about listening to the wrong voice. So no matter which direction we go, if our hearts are pointed at unity, we will get there. So no worries if you followed a path or guidance that has led you in a direction that creates chaos. That chaos is intentional to teach you something. And when you realize that that chaos has been created, we automatically redirect. So therefore, we can't ever really go astray at this point. So hopefully that could bring us some ease off the bat. That being said, to help us engage in the voice, so you can think of the voice of the divine in many different ways, and I'll just share some of my findings. Some of us hear the voice through different guides, our spiritual guides or guardian angels or whatever word you resonate with most. We hear them as individual voices, and each voice has a personality and a different purpose. So some may help us as mothers and fathers. Some may help us develop our spiritual gifts. So if you have taken a Reiki training, perhaps you've talked about a specific Reiki guide. Some may help us with our our purpose, our job opportunities, our employment, or whatever it is that we're creating. So we can look at them as different beings directing us on this path, and you may have discovered certain names for them. And if you hear separate voices, something you can do is ask, whose voice is this that's speaking to me? Pause and listen, and whatever voice comes to you next, that's the voice that you can call this, particular being by. You can also ask, what is their purpose for sharing guidance with you, and listen. And then whatever comes to you, or you can pay attention to your circumstances. If you have the same voice coming through during your Reiki sessions, could be your Reiki guide. If you have the same voice coming through as you're seeking, opportunities, that could be, your purpose, guide. So that's something that you can do to engage. And it's kind of a fun way to look at it, I think, because you have this family behind you, this invisible family that's always there guiding you. So that can be extremely comforting. Another way to look at it as your higher self. So this voice comes from the voice within. And it can be a combination of any of these that I'm speaking of too. So the highest self will come through as your own voice. And that sometimes can be confusing for us because we question, well, is this from my mind or is this from my highest self? Again, you can't screw it up. It's all the voice of the divine. However, certain guidance can come through as a way to comfort and to have a familiar voice of your own, and also to build trust with yourself. So hearing a loving voice back as your own will help build trust and confidence in your channeling of the divine and in being able to listen to the guidance of the divine. So that could be another way to hear that voice. The other way, so I do a combination, of all three of these things, I'll say. Another way is I think of it as the one voice is what I call it. So I'm a very analytical person. I like to figure things out. I like to know exactly what's happening. And that has distracted me during Reiki sessions because I think, well, oh, well, who's this voice coming through and what's their purpose? And, I start to, dig too much into my mind about it. Um, so when I started connecting more with the voice of the divine in that way, I lumped it all together as the one voice is what I call it. So I release any seeking of where that voice is coming from and recognize it as the voice of love coming through. And then later, if I want to connect with it or, look into it, after a session or after my meditation or prayer, whatever it is, then I could do that. But the one voice brings about trust in my heart that it doesn't matter about my spiritual gifts. It doesn't matter about who I'm speaking to. It just matters that I am connecting with the voice of the divine, the overall divine, and I recognize that all are one, that all are one. And it felt easier to me, I think, to see it all as one voice. So I do a combination of those. Sometimes it is different beings that come through and I will get visions of what the being looks like. And then if it's me, I obviously hear my voice. I don't see myself. That might be strange for me. But yeah, so those are different ways that the voice comes through. The challenge is when we are seeking guidance, how do we know that we are hearing the voice of the divine, the highest vibration of the voice, or is it a voice from the ego? Some characteristics of the voice of the divine is it may not be something that you agree with and or want to do. The voice of the divine does not care about your comfort level. The voice of the divine doesn't care about your ego, what you look like, or who would, if you are looking to move and you have family that would maybe be disappointed. The voice of the divine doesn't care that your family may be upset with you moving. It will come in fast and strong. It will be a clear voice. And a lot of times it will be on repeat. A little tip that I started practicing in my Reiki sessions was a rule of threes. So if I see or hear something and I'm like, that's crazy, no way, I release it back into the ether. And then I ask, if this is something, if this is guidance, let it return. And then if it comes back again, I say, cool, still sounds crazy, release it back, give me a third shot. And then if it comes through again, I'm like, okay, cool. And then I'll say it. And then, it's always like, oh my gosh, how did you know that? So yeah. And trusting that, if with our guides, I also like to think of it as like a guidebook. So, we can build a relationship with the one voice or our guides or our highest self to kind of have these like cheat codes of, okay, if you give me this signal, then I'll know this is what you mean, and or like symbols too. When I see a turtle, I know that it means this. When I see a ladder, I know that that means this. So I'm kind of going off track a little bit, but that is a way to build a relationship, build trust, and build ease in the relationship with the voice. Okay, let me go back to where I was. Yeah, so how do we know it's the voice of the divine versus the ego? The voice of the divine will come through the heart. We may get visions through the mind. The mind will be a part of it, but we'll feel it directly in the heart, and the heart will have a response to it. the heart may feel, like words to describe it would be open. The heart may feel excited. The heart may feel released. The heart may feel ease. If it's the voice of the mind, the heart may feel, or the mind might feel agitated. The mind may not feel ready. The mind might feel rushed. That's something too. So the voice of the divine. If you think of the divine, the spiritual world has no time. So if you're getting messages that are saying you need to do this right now, in my experience, and let me know if you disagree on this, and I would love to know your experience as well. In my experience, if it's something that's rushed, it's not from the divine. It is coming from a place of fear within myself that if I don't do this now, something bad's going to happen. And the divine knows that there's no bad that can happen, that the opportunity will continue to present itself. If you get this ping that, oh, I need to apply for this job right now. I have to do it. I know the voice of the divine is calling me. Oh my gosh, I'm so scared. If I don't do this, I'm going to screw it up. Probably not going, and experiment. A lot of this is trial and error. So if you go for the job and you don't get it, and you're thinking, oh man, like, was I listening wrong? Or if you don't apply for the job and you feel like you missed an opportunity, all of that is perfect. Sometimes the guidance will come through as, you need to apply for this job. And part of that is to feel into your response as to how do you feel about this job opportunity, and how you feel has more weight, has more lessons in it than actually getting the job or not getting the job itself. So an example, I was just talking to somebody about this. If you've seen the hit sitcom Friends, there is an episode where Rachel thinks she is pregnant, and she takes Monica and Phoebe into the bathroom. They're at, I forget, I think it's Monica and Chandler's wedding or something like that. And they take a pee test and to, obviously verify. So Rachel gives it to Phoebe and she's like, I can't look. And then Phoebe says, oh, you're not pregnant. I'm so sorry. And Rachel's like, oh, okay. And then she starts sobbing and she's like, I really, thought this was it, And then Phoebe's like, well, great, because, hey, you are pregnant, surprise. Like, and now you know how you feel about it. So kind of a weird way to talk about this, but notice when you get images from the divine, when you get guidance from the divine, how do you feel about it? And that's the emphasis. And I had experienced this years ago when I was getting all of these visions and these ideas and these insights about making a big life decision. And I could feel like myself being drawn into that, but my heart didn't feel ready. It didn't. And my prayer was, if this is going to happen, let it happen with ease. And if I'm not ready to do it now, then prepare me. And if this is where I'm meant to go, then prepare me for that. So that way, when it is time, that I am fully ready, I'm fully invested in it. So I ended up releasing that guidance back into the ether, and it returned again years later. And guess what? By that time, I was ready and everything fell into place with ease. So I hope that offers comfort to you and releases the sense of urgency that we have, that when we get a message, that means we need to do this now. We're, like, I remember when I first started on this journey, and I'm a very like ambitious person who doesn't always like reach her goals. Like I want to do this. I want to do this. I want to do this, and my goodness, how much I've stressed myself out about it. So, when I first started my spiritual work, I was getting all these visions of all these different paths I could take and all these different trainings, and oh, I could help people here and I could help people here. But I was so stressed out that I became disconnected. It was all about the ego for me. I became disconnected from why I'm doing this in the first place. First and foremost, I love you all, but I am here to support myself and my understanding on the spiritual journey. I have been entrusted with this soul and this body. So it must come through us first. If we're not experiencing ease in the process of being of service to the all, then it's not time yet, or we need to simplify our journey. We need to come back to our why. Why are we doing this? My simple thing that I come back to, my simple purpose is I am here on this earth to love myself and to love others. That's it. And that's why it's the rule in this place. An ordinary pioneer, our one rule, if you haven't been here, if you haven't heard, our one rule is to love yourself and to love others. That's it. That is my simple way of seeing why me and all of us are here. But that's my translation of it. So what is your translation when you are feeling pulled in all these different directions, when you're getting all of these different visions and this guidance coming through, and you're feeling overwhelmed? Putting a pause button on it and coming back to, well, what is my purpose for being here? Oh, I'm here to love myself and love others. Okay, so what does that look like right now? Oh, right now that means I meant to sit here and read this book on spiritual bypassing, because that's my work that I'm doing right now, and then things will build on from there. The whole idea of ordinary pioneer is meant, and like it could mean something for like everybody. For me, it is to keep me grounded in the simplicity, because I have these grandiose ideas for my life, but everything is in the ordinary. Life happens in the ordinary, or the present moment. And so if I'm fantasizing about all of these different ideas and, oh, I could do, all these different things, I'm missing out on what's happening right in front of me. And that could be my kid sitting right next to me, and I'm dreaming up all of these things that aren't associated with my child right here. Guess what? All of that love, all of that purpose is happening right here, spending time with my child. So, so when we focus on all these other things and put so much emphasis on the future, we're missing out on the present moment. The voice of the divine, we can only hear in the present moment. So that would be my next tip and trick to throw in there, is meditate and pray often. I don't know where it is in the Bible, or if this was something that was just said, but when I was in high school, somebody had said, or was reading a verse that said, pray unceasingly. Every moment we're connected to the divine. We cannot separate ourselves from that. So why not walk with the divine every moment of our day? And of course, this is a challenge. But when we are having these days when we're concerned, we're overcome by worry, or we're doing all of these things, we're very active, and we haven't taken any time to pause, of course, we're not going to hear the guidance come through. Or we may hear guidance that is coming from the ego, of what the ego wants. And what the ego wants is familiarity, and praise, wants praise for the self. So, we could get something of like, oh yeah, like, stay with this person, or stay in this job, or do this thing that, isn't aligned with your journey, because, it could make you super famous or something like that, so those are what come in through the ego. But when we are in pause, when we are in meditation, when we are constantly prayerful, that is the only time we will hear the voice of the divine. So again, coming back to that urgency, when our mind is constantly spinning, we're going to miss out on the simple guidance. And this guidance coming through is always going to be peaceful. It's always going to bring about ease in the heart, not without challenge, because a lot of times guidance is going to be challenged, but the path itself is going to be easy. That's where we notice the signs and synchronicity. So another thing to throw in here is, if you feel disconnected from the divine, look for the signs and synchronicities all around you. Thinking about a person, they call, oh, I acknowledge the divine for tuning me into the universe's plan for me to talk to this person, or running into somebody who just happens to be going through the same thing. Oh, thank you for bringing this person, into my life in this day. We're going to get together and talk about this. I feel supported. I feel loved by the universe. That's constantly going through my day. There's miracles in every single moment. And that is the most enjoyable part of my spiritual journey, is just like seeing everything as absolutely perfect and everything working out for my spiritual betterment. So I'm going to end it there. That was kind of a lot, but please let me know what questions that you have. And if we want to form a workshop or a discussion on this, let me know. And if you are interested in that, shoot out some questions my way so I can be sure to incorporate them in this. And possibly this could be something that we record too. You can show up, live at Ordinary Pioneer, or we can also like record it too, and I could post it on YouTube.